I would imagine that you'll very rapidly pick up on my accent. I'm from right over the hill in Elizabethton, Tennessee, is where I was born and raised. I'm in Greensboro now, but I was country before country was cool. So, anywho, safety climate, this is the term. It has a genesis story as to how this presentation came to be. What I do for a living is I teach OSHA for NC State Southeastern OTI. So I travel all over North Carolina and South Carolina teaching OSHA 510, 500, 502, which is the standards class, the rule book, trainer class, fall protection, excavation, stuff like that, primarily in construction, but everywhere. I leave here tomorrow and go to Pratt Whitney in Asheville and finish out a 510 up there for Pratt Whitney. So that's what I do for a living. Doing all that, and for the last 5 years, we have taught a curricula called Foundations of Safety Leadership, which was produced by CPWR. You need to write those initials down, all caps, CPWR. They are a construction research group in safety, but their stuff's used across the board. They work intimately with NIOSH and with FedOSHA, as well as all the bigger companies around the country. And they had been doing some research and finding out how they were training supervision, frontline supervision, that were in the field and going to be put into supervision. And the consensus was from all the companies they talked to, when they do surveys, it's hundreds and thousands of people, was that they give them OSHA 30 for supervisory training. Well, OSHA 30 has nothing to do with supervisory training. So then they began doing research and resulted in Foundations for Safety Leadership Curriculum. The reason I tell you to remember that CPWR is absolutely domain. You do whatever you want to with it. Everything on there, there's no copyrights. They have all the toolbox talks, even for your maintenance side of the house. I fully understand construction, general industry, but they've got it, anything you want. The research is there. They have research arms in COVID, silica, all kinds of different things. It's all open source stuff. I highly encourage you to check it out. It's the benchmark in my world for sending people there to get good stuff. So what happened, I was teaching FSL for the last, 5 years, over 5 years, regularly, because we do a lot of stuff a lot of times. And we taught it as though the safety climate was the term they used in the book, but none of us at NC State or that I work with knew what that was, so we just translate that into culture. And we done it synonymous with culture. Until I'm doing it on a VILT class, and the gentleman sitting right there, right in this room with the beard, trying to act like I'm, John G. Mertz was in there. He'll be attribution given to him on my final slide. And he had Dr. Beam at ECU, who had taught him about climate. And John told me, you need to rethink your position. I said, well, I don't need to rethink anything. We've been doing this a while, man. He said, well, you need to rethink your position on that and really look at that. It's two different things, and the juxtaposition of those two things is quite important. So, when I find out I'm wrong, I don't like it, but I'm going to make sure I find out everything I can. So I started researching peer-reviewed literature, all kinds of papers. We're on CPWR. Emailed Dr. Linda Goldenhar, if you want her name, Goldenhar. She's the guru behind all the research. Talked to her and got myself educated. Well, that kind of changed everything for me. Well, I read a lot. Some of us are prone to that in this world. And I synthesize. When you're young, you innovate and create. And they've already done the research on this. As you get older, you can't innovate, create. You just generalize and synthesize. And that's where I'm at. I'm synthesizing. So what I want to show you today is how important each of these is, but understanding their separate realms is going to help you interact with both terms. Because all we talk about is culture. That's all we hear is culture. So we're going to talk about the difference in them, define them, differentiate the rationality behind them very briefly, because I know you're professionals, I don't want to bore you. Just hit on leading, lagging indicators. And then I'm going to introduce you to a tool that's also available for you to use any way you want to use. There's an online version. There's hard copy, all on CPWR's website. All open source. Use it anytime you want to for your own company, as far as what they call a SCAT, Safety Climate Assessment Tool. So I'll throw that at you toward the end. So right off the bat, let me quickly, and y'all are the pros, so I know this is going to go quick. Tell me what a word, just give me a word for safety culture that you always think. When you think safety culture, what's a one word? What does it encompass? Quickly. Management. All right, I'm going to get my typing skills on here. Trust. What was the other one? Pardon me? Your accent's worse than mine, Bubba. Come on now. Y'all got to lighten up, huh? Engagement. What else? I like that. And a lot of people, let me say a lot of people put values, right? This gets in Tim's pet peeve world too. I'll use one he really loves. All you BBS guys really love this one. Beliefs, you know. So, and that's something we know about. This is a Lance definition. I got a couple Lances and I've got some good ones. What we want to happen and believe is happening due to the development of vision, policies, procedures. All right, this is no rocket science here. What we want to happen, believe is happening because executive situation-wise, the CSP, risk manager, VP of safety, whatever he's called, or she's called, he, she, they's called, they have put this out as policy. This is what we're going to do. There's no negativity now. There's no rock throwing here. There's no war between the two. It's a mutual misunderstanding. So, then if that word was for culture, what word would you use for climate? John, you can't speak. Just guess. Oh, let's use that reality word. Ooh, who said that? Well, I like that word. No one knows what reality is, but we love to use the word. I love that word. We don't have a clue what that word actually is. What's another one?
Muggy.
Muggy? Spell that.
Got too fixated on climate. But the safety climate can often be.
I'm writing it down because that's the most radical response I've ever gotten. Muggy. Next thing you're going to say rainy, overcast, you know. I'm with you. Huh? Partly cloudy.
I find that to be an accurate metaphor sometimes.
Oh, I think it's accurate most of the time. Cloudy would be a good one most of the time. What's another one? Come on. Pardon me? Relevance. Another?
Perception.
You're going to get smiley face for that. Another one? All right. That's enough. That's enough. We've stretched our limits of our intellectual ability anyway. Let's move on. So NCCWR defines climate. Now up here at the top is the Lance definition. That's why there's nothing under it. What is actually happening in a specific site or location and what the employees believe is happening at that location. CPR defines it as how well a company's policies, procedures, and practices are actually implemented on the job site, point of operation, to use an OSHA term, where work is being done. Gemba, we'll hit that just in a minute. Walking the Gemba, y'all manufacturing and lean. What I want to propose to you as we go through this, though, is that it doesn't matter if it's construction. I've taught this to the field-fed OSHA folks for the post office and Buckner Prison and all the Fed stuff, construction companies and general industry companies. Because when you're talking about climate, it can be as small as a work group, a team inside of a plant. If this building were a manufacturing facility, it could be raining up here and the sun shining in the bookstore, to use metaphorical language, since you brought up Muggy, okay? And on our job sites, and this was really, let me, quick story. I'm training Dominion Energy in Richmond, doing a training. And it's a bunch of guys that are building the solar farms. They're over the safety for the solar farm construction people across the country. That's who I'm teaching. And there's a particular general contractor that I know of that I think is just, the bomb. They're the bomb diggity. They're it. And so I mentioned their name to this group of august, venerable safety people. And they said, oh, they're a joke, they're terrible. And I told them, I said, you guys are literally busting all my bubbles, destroying all my heroes. What is the deal? And they told me this story that is so applicable right here. They said, we had a big job for this particular general contractor. We flew to Houston to meet with them at their headquarters. So these Dominion guys fly to Houston. Everything was perfect. The written programs, the policies, the procedures, beautiful. Fantastic. Couldn't beat it. So then they go back, they're happy, they shake hands, all, money, all that. They go back, papers are signed. They come to do the work for Dominion. And they said it was an unmitigated disaster. Well, I'm like, that is strange. And then he made this comment. He said, I don't think they sent us their A-team. Now, I would say if you told this big contractor, this is a multinational contractor, they wouldn't have an A-team because everybody's an A-team for them, right? But as we all know, it depends on the foreman, the superintendent, the supervisor, the division guy in your particular plant or industry, and how they, and then even further down the chain, right, as to how the climate works in that particular area. So let's keep moving. Here's the proper definitions of where they come from. Safety culture, and I do find this quite interesting, was first used in 1986 after Chernobyl. And if you think about it, Chernobyl was so bad on so many levels of bad that the whole culture was bad. And that's probably why they didn't have a broad enough term to define it. So there's culture. First time climate was used by the Israeli sociologists in 1980 looking at manufacturing, surveying for safety climate. First time those two terms is, because I told you, when John tells me I'm wrong, I'm going to get right, okay? Find out you lost, you got to get saved. All right. Now, this is from my reading, okay, and this is a little bit of Lance and a lot of books. What goes behind this, and this is my critical moment. This is the point. We've reached the climax here, the pinnacle of this, is understanding this. And these are not bad or good. They're both necessary, but we must understand that they're completely different. Individual articulated rationality is what must be the case from an executive level. If you sit and think about it for 2 seconds. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, some big CEO, they've got to set an executive 30,000-foot view. Eastman, Tennessee Eastman, I don't think any of those folks are in here. 30,000-foot view of what's got to happen, right? Your corporate safety people, which you may be, you have got to have individual, here's what I know to be the case, here's what we want to do, and all that is well and good. And that is individual articulated rationality. Now, I know I'm saying rationality, I'm starting to be cognitive, and I know I'm upsetting the behavioral people in here, but anyway, stay with me. Systemic rationality is more what we're talking about. People living, again, my definition, policies and procedures that are put in place, and I put the veracity word in there just for this group of people, just to try to impress you that somebody from East Tennessee could use the word veracity in a sentence, okay? The veracity of their implementation. Is it real? Is it real? All right? Is it real? How many 2-4s are in that? Tell me, scream, yell, quick, number, yell. 4? 3? Huh? Come on now. Well, you know what that means? That means you all are blind. You have no earthly idea. You have no perception. How could I trust your judgment if you can't count 4 2-by-4s? Perception's all that matters, isn't it? Huh? if I put a tree, and you know this, if I put a tree in this room, everybody in here would see a different tree. You describe a different tree. Everybody in this room right now is experiencing a different class or a different training or talk or teaching or whatever. Everybody in here is having a completely different experience. You're hearing me say different things. You're having different thoughts. Because it really comes down to the individual, doesn't it? And all the baggage and perceptions that come with them. But and you've seen so many of these things. I mean, he did the one with the, what was that, a 6 and a 9? You know, that was boss down here, right? Head man in charge. See, and this is my point. Perception's everything. So at the executive level, you've got to make the big call. You've got to get the focus, the ship moving in that direction. Your vision statement, mission statement. I come from back in the 90s, that's all everybody talked about. Y'all remember that? Well, if you'll just get a vision statement and articulate that, have your people repeat it over and over and over again, well, you could go to anybody in my organization, anybody in the hall, and ask them, and they could rattle off our mission statement. And it absolutely did not amount to a hill of beans. Right? They could have the greatest vision, greatest mission statement of the company going straight to hell right in front of them, right? Had no impact on reality. Because they were not taking into account what you all gather here to do. At least it appears to me, it's my first time, by the way, I'm a rookie. But it appears to me you're here to get it down into the real world. The two guys from Marathon. Now, how do these things work? And there's nothing wrong with them. Individual rationality is top down, has to be, from the minds of a few, if not one, has to be. Well-intentioned and well thought out. See, I'm not throwing shade. There's no shade thrown here. Implementation is assumed. I said it, it's going to happen. This is our policies and procedures. We put them into place. It's the company we run. This is what's going to happen. There's nothing wrong with that. But you get down in here, and I take this from the work of Donald Hoffman. Probably never heard of him. He's a cognitive scientist in, I think, UC Irvine. He wrote a book, The Case Against Reality, in which he claims that there is no such thing as a table, that table is my computer interface, the view of the table. It's quite a compelling book, though, to be honest with you. But now, this is something he brought up that's very interesting. He calls it the FBT theorem. FBT theorem. Fitness beats truth. And his contention is that we evolved or created, again, not getting into your personal worldview, evolved or created, however that works, for fitness, not for truth-seeking. Now think about this safety, folks. We're built for fitness, not truth-seeking. What's two things you absolutely know? You learn this right off the bat. If you're in safety at all, you know this. Your workers, there is two things when they face a task. Have any of you all ever had a job and physically worked in your life? Put your hand up. I like to have some reassurance right now. Okay, I feel a little bit better. So if my task is to move these chairs in the hall, this is precognitive. This is thoughtless. Okay, this is automatic, innate. Energy conservation and shortcut speed. Right? Now listen. You're worthless as a cut dog if you don't get that. You want people working for you that know I want it now, and I want it quickly, and I want you to save your energy because I'm going to work you 10, 12 hours a day. Right? And an employee, if you've ever been one, how can we get this done as fast and quick and as effortless as we can? And that's why all your thinking that y'all been talking about so far is the system thinking is so important. Now, let's look at going out into the field. In the field, it's bottom-up rationality. Based on the facts on the ground, the real world, from those close to the action. It is not intentional. It is not thought out, but lived. Now, I want you to get this. If you've ever been out there, you know, when you're out there running a forklift or doing work, you're not thinking. You know, as I move this box and this pallet, I wonder how it contributes to the overall vision that a CEO in our company desires to project into the marketplace And will the brand loyalty be increased with how I move this pallet? That's not what's happening, is it? Right? You get the friggin' box out of the way. That's what you're thinking. I got to go eat lunch. It's about break time, all right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you've ever been out there, you know how that feels. Implementation is revealed. It is revealed. It can't be assumed. This is the climate point. What's it revealing to us? Always seeks fitness. I'm just starting in your world. I am a novice. Okay? I am a novice. And I've been reading Aubrey Daniels. I've been reading Murray Sidman's book on coercion. I am going at it hard as I can go. Why? Why would I, in my ancient age, make such a turn? Because behavior stuff works. The rest of it don't. You can talk about my childhood and about the impacts that my country life has left on me. That ain't going to change a thing about what I'm doing tomorrow, right? This has an impact. What you guys do and are thinking about, we're spending this day and a half about, has an impact in the real world. That's why I'm interested in it. I was in supervision my entire life. This job I have currently is the first time since I was 23 years old that I was not managing people. I was executive director of Virginia Technical Institute in Alta Vista, Virginia, post-secondary trade school, which led to me going to Liberty University to be the executive director of their technical studies program. Before that, I was in textiles back in Tennessee. I was trained in the bad old days. Do y'all know what the bad old days are? Let me explain very specifically. Here's what I was told officially by upper management. Lance, employees are nothing but overhead walking on 2 feet, son. They're a resource and we will use them and dispose of them accordingly, as in the textile business. Talk about positive, negative reinforcement. Another quick story. Had a young lady found mixed denier yarn. It's 110 and 100. It's very difficult. HR, who's come out, Keith Dawson, I'll give you his man's name, used to be at Burlington years ago. Keith Dawson comes out and said, man, you need to write a letter of commendation. She just saved his company a crap ton of money. So I'm standing there, you know, them supervisory stand-up desks. Y'all remember that far back? I'm standing there doing that. Well, my department manager come out. A little bit of Copenhagen between cheek and gum. Son, what do you think you're doing? I said, well, I'm writing up a letter of commendation for so-and-so who found that mixed denier. He said, I don't think you are. Not in this plan. To keep in mind, we're talking about 1,200 employees, not no little penny. He said, right here, the way they work best is have 2 letters in a file, one more than they're fired. That's how they work best. You will never write commendations for these people. That's how I was trained. That's how I was trained. That was my foundational. Now I'm going to school, you know, getting my book learning, UT, East Tennessee State University, and finished up in Virginia. But that's how I was trained in the real world. Now, what's wrong with that? Well, it don't work. It gives you what you all know. It gives you short-term results, and you get scared enough, you'll do whatever you're told. It does not give you discretionary effort of any kind, period. You're going to meet expectations, in that case, production, and it was in a number. Meet production, go smoke in a break area. That's what they done every day. So what you do, what we're talking about here works. Now, real quick, this is a quote. I just want you to read the red. That's why it's in red. You can read the whole thing. You've seen the book. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You follow the level of your systems. I hate goals. I've always hated them. I hated them intuitively, but now Aubrey Daniels has given me academic reasons to hate goals. And oh, by the way, I just recently am reading, almost finished with Kim Behrens' book on fit learning, where she systematically destroys the United States educational system. There's a behavioral scientist. I'm telling you, she calls it radical behaviorism. Rise to the level of your goals, follow the level of your systems. Frameworks. Why do we need a framework, which I'm getting ready to give you? Why do we need a framework? They stop our common illusion that our truth lies within. And we all believe that. don't we? It feels right to me, based on no empirical observation. This seems like it ought to work, based on no empirical observation. That's our natural bend. Everybody that breathes in and out, their natural bend is to turn within to figure out situations that are external to them. That's just how we roll. And the more we do it, the more we depend upon it. Well, this little tool we're going to get to here in a minute is going to give you a way around that. Anybody got any questions so far, comments? Yes?
What was that woman's name?
Dr. Linda Goldenhar. Write that name down. Goldenhar. She's with CPWR. She's their PhD research guru. Absolutely. Go get everything that I'll show you here in a minute. Go there. You can have everything but my presentation. Go anywhere. She's got all the SCAT safety climate. You got to be careful about saying SCAT. We're in the South. Everybody knows what that is. Safety climate assessment tool, not animal feces, okay? All right. Any other questions? So how does this work? What we're going to be talking about, we're going to show you the assessment tool. How can you use this tool, physically use it with your company within OSHA's Safety Health Management System and or lean. Okay. OSHA's Safety Health Management System has got Program Evaluation and Improvement section, and across from it, Employee Participation section. This handles both of those. Okay? It involves employees, and it helps you determine if your climate on that particular site, in that particular department, at that particular plant, matches what it at corporate level should match. I was in Virginia. I had two of the maintenance guys working for me as instructors when Goodyear had 4 fatalities in 8 months in the Danville plant. Do anybody remember that? 4 fatalities in 8 months, and I'm talking about take the body out on a stretcher dead at one manufacturing facility. Now, something's bad when it's something like that. You know, that's just not a fluke thing. So but see, you could have probably went to a different Goodyear plant in a different state and seen a completely different thing. That's what climate tries to show us. You could have probably went with it, because that's a big place. That is one monster. It's got 2,000 employees. It's a big plant. You could have probably went within that plant to certain areas of the plant and went to other areas, and there would have been no correlation between them. No connection whatsoever. Now, we don't like that, but it's true. So let me tell you another conclusion, and it is an absolute conclusion, period, that I've come to. And I'm going to tell you how I got there. I think it applies across the house, though. I was walking the Publix distribution center that is just being finished up in Greensboro with Gray Construction. $400 million, at least that was the first part of it. You just have to see it to believe it. So I'm with the site safety guy, his name is Jackson, and Jesse is the regional manager for them. We're walking the site, physically walking the site. So we go over to this building, and what's going on here? There's a guy walking open web joists backwards, pulling sheet of decking, about that wide. He's about 60 feet up. He's tied off, you know. I turn around, there's 6 JLGs up against the wall up top of a roof. I go in another place, there's a guy on a scissor lift doing some kind of MEP work. And because I've seen that a lot, I've been to Turner sites and a bunch of different sites, Flora. And I've been in manufacturing, I've been in large facilities, I've been in a Nissan plant in Tennessee back in the day, and been in a lot of places like that. We've taught in a chemical plant down near Charlotte. I've taught a chemical plant out toward Franklinton. And this is the conclusion I've drawn. And it goes back to a lot that's already been said today. the safety, effectiveness, and the reality of it actually occurring in your companies will be directly connected to what the supervisor, frontline, foreman, supervisor does. A site safety person, you as a safety person, are fantastic. God loves all of you. But I'm telling you right now, your effectiveness is directly connected to how that frontline supervisor does things. And it don't take but one bad one. One bad one. My youngest son, I'm going to tell this, we're going to keep moving. I'm still making time good though. My youngest son worked for a company, a mechanical contractor in the Greensboro area for 2 or 3 years. Talking about when he started, he's 19, 20, 21. If you've not picked up on anything, my sons, I read a book a week. My sons would rather have their eyes gouged out than read a book. This weekend, my oldest son says to me, he's at the house, he's out of town now climbing cell towers because he's in the Marines and he likes thrills. He says, I'm reading, Dad. I looked at him and said, Jake, instructions, recipes, what are you reading? Well, if you're going to be a smart ass, I ain't going to tell you. And come to find out, he was actually reading a real book. A little surprise. I cried some. She got shocked. Brain makes you mad when they can read and don't. That's what really gets me. Anyway, so my youngest son's worked for this company, and everything's been fine, relatively safe. He's borrowed by another crew, same company, HVAC group, that he don't work with normally, and they're going on the top of the buildings in Winston-Salem, they're 60 feet up in the air, taking air handlers, you know what I'm talking about, off the roof. Now they got a crane picking them off. They are up there getting them disconnected and gutted, and they're putting them on what is called like a gantry crane. Think of a cherry picker that they push across the roof. They have a foreman who don't give a rip. My son's never worked for this foreman. He's a get her done guy. We'll clean up the blood later. You with me? So, they're going to push this gantry crane across gravel with hard wheels. So my son and them said, well, we can't do this, man. We're going to have pneumatic tires. Put some plywood down. I got to put some plywood down. Okay. They put plywood down. So, I'm getting ready to go teach an OSHA class. Just keep in mind when this is happening. This is back 2019. The next day I'm going to go teach an OSHA class, OSHA 500. He's up on that roof. They're pushing this thing across. He's pulling it. And he's my baby boy. He's 6'4", 260. All right. When he's in high school, he pressed me over his head. They're pulling it. The wheel goes through the plywood on his calf muscle. Exploded his calf muscle. You guys seen it? What a hole. Broke the tibia. He's very lucky because he's huge. He didn't break that tibia or cut his leg off. It took 6 of them to pick that corner up while he drug his bloody leg out from under it. And they had to give him a JLG and take him to the ground. I get a call, getting ready to go teach OSHA class, and somebody on my son's phone, where's Josh? Oh, he's in the ambulance on Wake Forest Baptist Hospital. That's fantastic. Because I've told my sons, I said, boys, listen to me. I need you to know what my heart is. When you're out there working, you know what I'm most concerned about? Don't embarrass me. You with me? So I'm in the hospital, he's sitting there, he's in all kinds of pain. I'm standing there in the hospital, I get my phone out, took a picture of that big open wound. I show it to my class. I don't do it to you. I'll show the leg. I said, boy, Josh, you really suffer for give your daddy good safety stories. I got to give you that. It's exactly what it said in the hospital. Are workers involved? How can they be involved? This is all these slides. Let me explain something. These slides are taken directly from our OSHA official at NC State. These 3 slides, safety, health, and management training that we do. Okay? So, evaluation, right here. And I'm going to give you the tool. Now let's jump to lean. In lean, you all know this. This is old school stuff. Plan, do, check, act, or as they say, the guy in Japan likes plan, do, study, act. And then walking the Gemba, right? You know what that means. You've heard it all day long. You can't do safety sitting in the office. You can't do safety sitting in the job trailer, right? You've got to be in the field. And I've taken it another level, I hope, and I'm telling you, you can't do safety till you and your 4 people, he, she, they, supervision, supervisor, supervisor, are all in on it together. At that moment, you'll be able to do safety. You can have one rogue foreman hurt more people than you can heal. So it's got to be a thing like that. Now, what is the safety climate assessment tool? What am I talking about? Everything I'm going to show you is on CPWR website. I'm giving you nothing, freely received, freely given. Okay, you go get it. You can get it in Word, PDF, the online version, everything. So, lagging indicators, spending no time, emergency modification rates, that's a big deal in construction, DART rate, incident rate, 300 log. What does all these tell you? Now, I hope we'll evolve a little bit. Everybody knows that have a company that says, I've had 1 million man hours with no accident. We know that's a bad thing, right? That's a lagging indicator, and that's too late. We understand that. We're safety 101 now, right? So that's good. Now, you need that for trend lines. You need to know what time it is. I mean, our brothers here from Marathon, they were tracking stuff. You got to find out what's going on. But that sure is the world not going to fix anything. This is not mine. These are on the literature. This is from CPWR. Now, granted, originally, and as you're going to see, I'll show you the document, it was designed for construction companies, but can be used for anybody. Demonstrates, you're talking to your people. This is not me in the C-suite talking, or you. This is the people in the field. And I'll show you the tool in a minute. They're going to tell you, demonstrates management commitment, promotes, incorporates safety, ensures accountability, supports effective supervisory leadership, empowers and involves employees, communicates effectively, provides training at all levels. That bottom one tells us, see, every week we teach, it's got to be 75 to 100 different companies a year. So I'm exposed to a lot of different construction companies. Our general industry people are exposed to people. We're not in your house, but we're exposed to a lot of different homes, okay? Training at all levels. I'm not talking about us doing training. I'm talking y'all been doing training. That solves a multitude of problems right there. A multitude. What's the problem with that? See, I like to be real. Can't find employees now, can we? Huh? Can't pass the drug test. When I teach my FSL, I say if you hire a man or woman and they can come in and show up on time, pass a drug test, and they're physically moving, they're in the 90th percentile of American worker. Right? So we're going to temp agencies. Right? And there's another layer of problems. Safety Climate Assessment Tool, and right here it is. It's going to ask them, this is how they answer. I just turned it upside down. I'll show you the actual categories. Already does this well. Does your company? Could it do better? Need help doing this? Is not able to do this? I don't know. That's the first page of it. That's the leading indicators again, and there's how it's laid out. Once again, there's an online version. They can do in about 2 minutes. So you just picture, let me physically do it. I'm here, and I've got you, and you, and you, and you, in a little crew. Break time. I'm not talking about taking no day and having, hey guys, let's have a cup of coffee, check some boxes here. 15 minutes later, you've got what you need. You're done. Okay? So this one has safety practical policies and shares them, includes, I love this. Don't talk about safety and say we can't afford it. That's an oxymoron, contradiction in terms. Frequently visits, actually shows up, obeys rules, provides PPE, recognizes them, identifies, collects information, follows up on injuries. Now, if y'all from the old days, you remember workman's comp claim meant unemployment. Y'all remember that? You file workman's comp, they'd take care of you. You're done, finished, back in the day. My company holds regular meetings to discuss safety. Never, look at number 2. They don't ask if you're not ready for an answer. I'm not there painting broad stroke brush, but most companies love safety until they get behind on production. And then things start changing radically. Love it until that point. Then you've got my company discusses with everybody, rewards managers, forward maintaining, has everyone, including them, accountable. What I read something from ECU. What's that guy's name? It's got the strange name, that Dr. Manuel, or that had that. Did y'all use their textbooks? Huh?
Fred Manuel, but he wasn't.
No, his textbook though. Y'all use his text. That's what I read some of his studies about tying your yearly eval to safety, Procter & Gamble's and some of those big stories, and what impact that had. Thought it was interesting. Clearly defines, supervises, this is what I like right here. Roles, provides them with leadership training because they don't have it. What my goal in coming to this conference, my project is, where I'm working, is to develop a small training program for foremen, for people that have a high school diploma, not you all, okay, to help them get out of that my way or the highway command control and understanding that it doesn't work, and more into ABC, antecedent, right, behavior and consequence and positive reinforcement. And I tell you, that Murray Sidman book, on coercion, so he takes care of that, don't he? Escape, avoidance, he goes through all that, So it just doesn't work. So that's what we got to have. Rewards them for their leading, encourages employees to report, actively solicits, rewards them for improving safety. Not randomly, not get her done, way to go, good job. Hey man, thank you for doing X, Y, and Z. I see you tied off there when you was working on that heat pump on top of that roof hanging off the edge of it at that ladder. I see you found another way to do that. Take care of yourself, don't endanger yourself. Provides them with feedback, make sure their policies are understood and not put out there in our safety jargon. I chew our trainers out all the time because we train people to teach 10 and 30 hours. And I said, here's some words I don't want ever hear come out of your mouth, out of your pie hole. Don't you ever say mitigate my presence. Don't you ever say abate my presence. And for God Almighty, don't want to say attenuate. I had a guy down in Wilmington, he got up and he attenuated a situation. I said, stop the presentation. I said, we've got to stop right now and thank you for the use of your vocabulary. I said, if you want to conjure the numerous from the quotidian, we can meet in the parking lot, son. We can all use big words to talk with the veridicality of your statements, right? The facile remarks and the fatuity of what you're saying, you on and on and on. It's stupid. Talk normal. Positive safety message. Positive safety message. Provides ongoing training, 10 and 30 hours, that's just thrown in there. Find training needs, assess safety knowledge and skills. If they don't know, they can't do. I assume. Wendy Shepard, who I work with all the time, she's always makes this comment. And every time she trains Subpart X, she says, everybody on this earth assumes that anybody with common sense can use a ladder. And we assume wrongly. Just a ladder, set it up, climb it. Wrong assumption. We got to quit all that stuff, especially as we get newer workers in. Newer workers weren't raised on the farm like some of you all were. They just weren't. They were our kids. They were playing video games. My son's thumbs were the strongest muscles on their bodies. Now, I worked them, I forced them, but because I'm cruel, not because I'm a good dad, I'm a terrible father. But I was in that session where they were asking about how you define yourself. Was y'all in that session? Anybody with me? The session with the lady Denise? I am impatient, hot-headed. That's what I am. You dig? I hate patience. Patience is for losers. Patient people never get anything done. Now, if you want something to replace patience with, the three letters I love most to hear about somebody is OCD. OCD equal good employee. Right? Come on. We're soft. Regularly assess safety skills, and I'm going to show you about half a second of this. Show you where it's at, Tim. I promise we're done. We're not going to show the video. I'm just going to show you that it's here. 2 seconds. You can go on CPWR and pull this up on your computer right now and watch it.
On the SC
It's an online
page,
version of all the things I've told you. You can send out links to your people, sit there in their office and do these at all your sites, John, and wherever. Okay? They've really upped the game.
Creating an account is easy.
And it's got tools then. When you find out what your assessment looks like, it links you to tools to help you out in getting your folks developed.
Indicating if you're from
Pretty cool
a
stuff.
construction company
For free.
is important because the Safety Climate Benchmark Score.
Moving on. Wonder who said these words. I used to take his little bitty book that I don't give a gritty, you're not stupid word book, and I'd read it out of the back at all my 502s, 500 classes. Even if Tim Ludwig, Dr. Ludwig said, it is profound, isn't it? Because what do we all do? All of us say, well, I was with some safety people the other day, and they said, yeah, it's always human error. So if you get rid of these idiots, you won't have no safety problem. It was like the reverse of the facts. 94% is due to the system that caused it. That's the number. That's the big number right there. Here is the people. I told you John G. Mertz, your name was on here. I'd like to give attribution. That's authors I've read to put this together. I don't want anybody to be dismissed and kind of synthesize their ideas. And my final quote is this one. One you're probably familiar with. Thank you very much.